All right. Hello, everybody. This is Nick Klosky, and I am one of the co-founders of Honeypoint 3D. I want to welcome everybody to the April 2016 3D printing, 3D design webinar. So I'm going to be showing you some kind of fun things that we're working on. I also want to go over the questions that everybody submitted in the survey, and I want to welcome everybody to this webinar. We also have a chat room, so if you are joining this webinar live, I see that we have a good number of people actually already on. We have a chat room where you can ask questions, and I really want to answer your questions. I have things that I certainly want to show you and talk to you about, but I really also want to answer your questions, because that's the goal of these webinars, is to help you get into 3D printing and help you be successful at whatever you need to do. So just very quickly, some background on Honeypoint 3D, which is my company. Lisa and myself co-founded Honeypoint 3D in 2013, and we have grown to be one of the premier 3D printing and 3D design educational resources out there. We've taught, I have personally taught around, it's up to about 7,200 paid students on 3D printing through in-person events as well as online. And so we're very happy of that good track record. Also, I want to show you too, I'll kind of be switching in between talking to you and showing you things on the internet as well. So what I do want to show you, let me bring it up here. And now I will go back to this and share my screen. And you can see what I'm talking about here. So you'll see me go into infinity here. I also want to say that our book is coming out very soon. So this is actually going to be out sometime in April. We're being published by Maker Media, which is the parent company for Maker Fairs, Make Magazine, and all of that. So this book is here on Amazon. You'll also be able to purchase it at Barnes & Noble, all of that. So if you want a physical copy of something that will help you get into 3D printing, if you do a search on Amazon for getting started for 3D printing, this will come up, a little apple on the front that's a part mesh and part 3D print. So I want to kind of bring your attention to that if you want a physical in-person resource to help you with 3D printing. There we go. And hopefully, you never really know with webinars. So if somebody in the chat room could just say, yes, I could hear you, and yes, I could see that that web page you went to, that would be great, because I want to make sure that I'm actually showing you the things that I should be showing you. But and be sure to ask questions. So I also want to talk about another thing. We opened up these webinars to everybody. These webinars started off as part of our Kickstarter project for 3D printing. Great, thank you, Franklin, said yes. We offered these webinars as something as part of our Kickstarter, and now, about a year later, something like that. And thank you, Joan and Bill, great. And everybody, John, all that, great. We open this up to everybody. So we have a lot of people actually joining us today for the very first time. And so I want to try something on the right-hand side here. And I want to start it. So if you could answer on the right, hopefully a little poll popped up, just so that I could get some information from you on what your experience with 3D printing is. Hopefully, I've never used the poll function before, but I just want to kind of see what your experience level is with 3D printing. So if you could just click on that, we have a good number of people there, and so I can kind of gauge it. Do that for a few more seconds. It shouldn't be that hard to do. Good. Awesome. So the poll was, if you're not seeing this, you know, in the replay or anything, just starting out, basic level, pretty comfortable, but still learning, and mastermind. So looks like most people are pretty comfortable, but still learning, and then some basic experience, and then a few people are just starting out, and nobody said they're a mastermind, so that's good. I can rest assured that I'll be a good teacher for you today. Okay, so I'll end that. Awesome. Great, that works too. So good. We had some questions coming through on the survey, so I want to get to those. So when you filled out this survey link, it asked you or when you filled out the webinar link, let me go back here. There we go. It asks you if you had any questions you'd like answered, and I'll be happy to go over those. Oral asked a question, all aspects of 3D modeling for 3D printing. So I'll go into that a little bit, but that's a huge, kind of huge subject. But when we go into MeshMixer a little bit later, I'll be sure to kind of talk about 3D modeling specifically for 3D printing. So I will get to that. Eric asked a question, resources for learning from others. This is a really good one. So one of the best places that I've found online, and I apologize if this is a kind of a repeat from previous webinars, but this really, it continues to be a great resource. Let me go and share my screen again. Go into Infinity again. I will open this up. So this is Google Plus. And if you go into Google Plus and you click on the top left here under communities, you can do a search for communities up in the top bar here. And if you look at this 3D printing one right here, you can see it has, as of today, 262,000 members. So if you click on this community, you get a whole lot of resources. You know, polls, general discussion. If you look down on the left-hand side, if you're not really familiar with Google Plus communities, you have all posts, general discussion, news, show and tell, questions, help. So if you click, for example, on questions help, you'll go to this questions help section, and there's a lot of people that are wanting to help you with various things. See, like this guy with the little fish here says, that he thinks he has an under extrusion problem. So you click on these little comments down here and you see that there's people helping him with his problem. So if you have a question, you can always click on this little pen on the lower right here, this green circle. And, you know, you can write a question like, hi, I have a question. And then when you click post, it'll actually ask you what category you want your post to go in. So you would say questions or show and tell, that type of thing. So I'm going to discard that post. So this is a really good resource. And again, if you just go to Google Plus and do a search up here for 3D printing, you'll see a whole bunch of things pop up, but this is under communities, which is the second link right here, and 262,000. There's some other 3D printing ones, but this one is the biggest. So that is by far the best way to get help that I have found. Now, there's some other ones if you're into more professional uses of 3D printing. The LinkedIn groups, there's a few communities on LinkedIn if you do a search for groups under there for 3D printing. But those are mostly for professionals that are asking things about metal 3D printing or all of that. You wouldn't ask really generally about like your home printer on there, or at least I haven't seen too many people. So that's a good one. Let me go back. So we also had a person, Bill, ask a few different questions, and I'll get to those. So the first question, is there a mobile app for our new site? So I do want to show something that we're very proud of. I will go back here. And I will actually log out like this. So we launched a new training website. So honeypoint3d.com/education, and actually So honeypoint3d.com. If you go here, we have Learn with Online Education. You click on that. It takes you to kind of an overview page of all of the classes. And if you click on any of these, we'll just go to the intro class, it takes you to our training website. So our training website is brand new. We just put all of our classes up on there, and we're super excited about it. One thing I do want to say that is kind of special for what I'm talking about today is you click on all courses up here. We created something called an all access pass. So this is $20 per month for all of our paid classes. So you get all of the Mesh Mixer here, all of the figurine, intro to 3D printing. You don't get access to the content pack of 3D models. That's kind of a separate thing. But all of the paid classes that we are creating are going to be added on to that all access pass. So it's $20 a month, and we're actually kind of super proud about that. Now, the question was, is there a mobile app for this site? There's no app for it. And actually, let me go back here. There's no app for it, but it is mobile optimized. So you can just go to that website on a mobile browser, and I checked it on my phone. It works totally great. Everything shrinks down. All of the courses you can take effectively, and it works pretty darn well. Now, with that, I also I've also never done this before, but I will put this up. I have no idea what it's actually going to do, so let's see. And display it. Oh, okay. I guess it just shows up right there. So on the offers link on the right-hand side, we actually are offering 25% off your first month. So if you're not a member or have any of our paid classes, then you can sign up for $15 for the first month, and then try them out. And we're going to be adding classes over time. And I guess I can tell you this. Actually, I don't know if on the webcast this is showing right side. For me, looking at me, this is actually backward, but it says design differently. This might give you a hint for the new class that we're working on. If you don't, maybe I can turn around and show you, and maybe that's backwards as well. But one of the things that's most asked for by people is a class on Fusion 360. So we are doing that. I am right now creating a class on Fusion 360 that will be offered in the All Access Pass, and that will kind of round out the 3D design aspect. You have Mesh Mixer and Fusion 360, and then we'll be doing some more things that are just kind of much more 3D printing specific as well. So I think I can keep that offer up, and I can go back to various things. So Bill asked some other questions. Would be great to be able to port your current progress from Udemy over. For those of you that don't know, we just went off of Udemy because Udemy changed their thanks, Bill. He says Fusion 360, fantastic. Udemy changed their prices and their pricing structure. And I never really liked Udemy. They don't give me access to like emailing individual students all that well. Student management was more difficult. So our new site is going to be much more better for us to communicate and all of that. So, but there's no way for Udemy to do that. Actually, Udemy had ways of porting classes off, but when they made that change, I think they expected a lot of people to go off of Udemy, and they shut down access. So I actually had to manually move over all of those classes, which was, I guess, something that Udemy wanted to make it a little bit harder to do. So that's the answer for Udemy. Next question from Bill was best practices for cleaning up 123D catch scans. That is one of the things I am specifically going to go over with today in the Mesh Mixer section. So stay tuned for that. And so we've had a couple questions about an API or some form of scripting. You absolutely can do that. And I can share my screen again and show you how to investigate that. So if we go here to Mesh Mixer, so this is the Mesh Mixer homepage. If you click on forum here, you see there is some things, and there's a scripting/API help section on the forum. And if you click on this, the very first pinned there's some people doing things. This isn't a very active forum. But if you click on this, you see the most current version will be on GitHub with downloads for the current source. But if you click on this, it takes you over to GitHub and talks about the Autodesk Mesh Mixer API. And I'm not a programmer, but I do know that people have created, and actually I can copy this and probably put this into the chat here if anybody wants to go there. I know that people have done things with Mesh Mixer. You absolutely can strip out functions, say do not show these buttons. You can remap hotkeys, absolutely. So people have made customized versions of Mesh Mixer to do specific things. Maybe giving it to somebody that just needs to do a certain number of tasks. Then you just show those tasks, maybe even in order on the Mesh Mixer interface, and they can't do anything else. That is doable with Mesh Mixer, absolutely. And we may see some changes to that too, because a lot of features from Mesh Mixer are going to be going into Fusion 360. If you do a search for Fusion 360 Mesh environment, they're going to be taking a lot of Mesh Mixer and putting it into Fusion. That's not out yet, but I do know that that is on the roadmap for Fusion at some point, is to be able to more effectively handle meshes. And I'll be talking about that later today as well. Pressure sensitivity with Wacom pads, like pens that do pressure sensitivity. I'm not aware of that. You may be able to hack that in with the API, but it's not something that is by default, anything that you can do. I have a Microsoft Surface that could do that. It would be awesome, but no, nothing yet. If you go into the Mesh Mixer forum, RMS is the author of Mesh Mixer, and he's very active on the forums and could answer that for you. Any way to get Mesh Mixer ported to iPad Pro or iOS in general? No. No, not going to happen. But so here's the thing. So let me go back and share my screen again. There is kind of an alternative for you that you could do. If you do a search for 123D Sculpt. So this is a free program from Autodesk, and it's only for Apple, so iOS devices, and for Android. And before you go any further, if you click on the Google Play link, I say, great, I want to install this on my Android machines. And I say, great, oh, I can't put it on any of my phones. I have some extraneous phones in here. I can only put it on my tablet. So this is only for devices that are classified as tablets for Android. I have no idea about iOS, but that's kind of a limiting thing for Sculpt. But anyway, Sculpt is an iOS application. So you can go and sculpt all of these things. And it's actually, it's meant to be very easy to use. And, this probably took a little while to do, but you absolutely can sculpt things like this and paint it. And there's videos on here. So this would be the one that you could use. I do believe you would be able to download this as a mesh file and manipulate later. So it's not really Mesh Mixer, but it is something that is in the same ecosystem. So hopefully that is of help. Let me get rid of these other ones here. Great. And so I will get to the other questions as well, but I just wanted to go over the survey questions first. Now I want to kind of give you some previews of some of the, or kind of an overview of some of the things that we created other videos on, but we've gotten actually requests, not on the survey, but via email to go over these in a more live fashion. So we have a YouTube channel that I will show you here. YouTube. I'll switch over. Actually, we're right here to my channel. So we have a Honeypoint 3D channel. We're going to start populating these much more because we want to kind of share information. But if you do a search for Honeypoint 3D on this, we just have a few right now, but there's some pretty good ones. So this one is a mesh to CAD workflow, and I will turn this off. This shows how to go from a mesh that you start in Mesh Mixer, how to convert that mesh into quads, right? Because Mesh Mixer is all triangles, into quads, and then how to bring those quads into Fusion 360 to make that an actual CAD model, right? So something that you can, move and edit, and you can see that this is a full parametric CAD model. So we have a video on that, and I know a lot of people are very interested in that. And then also this one, which is image to 3D model. So this started off with, I get this download every week from Creative Market, where they give you some free things every week. So this was a pack of leaf shapes. So I show how to take a picture, just a photograph, bring it into, this is called Inkscape. It's an open source alternative to Adobe Illustrator. How to use the tools inside of Inkscape to create a vector image. So you can see that black and white image there. So it was just a couple clicks, not very hard to create that vector image. And then we bring that vector image into, and I'm advancing here, bring that into Fusion 360, and then I kind of clean it up a little bit, and then it turns into a profile that you can then extrude and turn into earrings or something like that. So it doesn't take actually that long to turn a photograph into a 3D model that you can 3D print. And so that is on that. So I'm going to go over that a little bit today, but I do want to make sure to answer the question about best practices for cleaning up 123D Catch scans. And I've actually gotten a couple of people messaging to the group, as well as messaging me personally here that they're happy about the Fusion 360 class. So we're really interested in that. If there are specific things you'd like to learn about Fusion 360, let me know. But like all of our classes, I'll certainly go over the tools, but I also want to go over the workflows, right? So if you're standing next to somebody who is an experienced mechanical engineer, they could kind of show you what the tools do, but the real meat, the real good part of learning from somebody is just what goes on their brain, right? How to start a design. Do you start from the top down or the bottom up or the inside out? Why do you choose to use certain things? So we'll certainly be going over that with Fusion, which is something I haven't seen other Fusion classes. There's not actually that many, but I haven't seen those Fusion classes going over. So that's kind of cool. But with that said, and I think that the offer is still up. Awesome. So I want to go into cleaning up a scan for 123D Catch, because this is something that I think is really useful and something that I used the other day. I don't actually have a picture of my garage, but this is something that I use pretty much quite a bit. Is I see a problem out there, like, well, I've shown this in other webcasts, right? But I have these headphones, and I say, well, I just don't want them sitting on my desk. I want to do something with them. I want to put them on a hanger, but I'm an awesome 3D printer. I want to 3D print a hanger, right? And so I've shown this before. Let me pop this up here. Right, so this is a color 3D print of something that I've created in Mesh Mixer, and something like that is pretty easily done. So let me show you a couple of workflows on how to do that. Then I'm going to go away now and show you my screen right here, so you can see this. So here is actually we can see this. So this is an example of a charger for, let me actually go over here. I can still see your questions while we do this. Great. So this is a charger for a wireless Dremel rotary tool that I just got. And you can see above up here that this is for my drill. The drill actually had little mounting posts in the back for a screw to go in, so I could put that on the wall, but this Dremel thing didn't. So how can I mount that on my wall? You know, I can fashion some brackets out of metal, but no, I'm a 3D printer, right? I can solve this. So that's what we're going to be doing today as kind of like a real world example. So what I did, let me open this here, and I will start at MeshMixer. So I went in, and actually I could show you the whole web page here. So I'm going to go into my 123D account here and sign in. One moment. So I used actually Memento. Here. So I used Memento, but it's very, very similar. So we'll go into models. And I think it should be. No, it's actually not here. Okay. So it looks like that uses a separate kind of storage thing. So I will just start this then. So Memento is a downloadable here at memento.autodesk.com. And Memento allows you to do what 123D Catch does. So you use multiple photographs to turn something into a 3D object. So that's what I did with this Dremel base charging station, is I just took photographs of it and put it into Memento, and it turned into a 3D model. So what that actually looks like is this. I'm going to import Memento, the OBJ. Take a second to come up here. And this is what it came out as, right? So a non-manifold, right? But that's okay. We'll fix that. But we can zoom in a little bit here. And you can see that this is a pretty good representation of the object. Now, if I turn on W for wireframe, that's actually pretty good, right? You can use some things inside of MeshMixer to actually see how good this is. So if you go into analysis to measure, you can do some measurement things on here. So there's different directions. I usually want to do this N direction. You want to always keep it on that. But you can do some measurements, right? This measurement right here is kind of shooting through the model. There's some other ones that are on top of the model, like this, that kind of show you, where in 3D space it is, and some other kind of cool ones. But there are some, and then different snapping modes. Actually, this is a new addition with MeshMixer 3. And this is, between different objects. There's lots of different ways to, kind of see what the resolution of these models are. And especially, there's lots of, so you can see that if you have multiple objects, you can do things. With single objects, you can do things. And, it's pretty darn useful like this. But one issue with this that we had in previous versions of MeshMixer is this came in, let's look and see units. Right now, this is 47,000 millimeters, right? So, kind of too big for a Dremel charger. And there was no good way to kind of change this. Well, now there is. So I'm going to actually do this to inches because I did this. It doesn't even matter if I keep or convert it. I could convert it, right? 1,800 inches. But if we look down here, we say selected measure left drag. So you see set target length. If you look in here, you can now actually click on something and hold down the control key on your PC or command key on your Mac, and you are dragging this line. And I did a measurement. I'm going to let go of that and say set target length right here as 3.5 inches. So I said that this is 3.5 inches right here. And if we look in, actually this is kind of a, this should say, I think it's kind of converting into millimeters and inches improperly. So let's try that again. So from here to here is 3.5. I'm actually doing some weird conversions right here. It worked earlier when I tried this because I did it properly, right? But so let's kind of do this in another way. So a scan cleanup with, and actually you probably want to do this before you do any sort of measurements, is I'm going to click on this. I'm going to grow this selection by holding down Control and doing right click. You can see right here it says right click drag for geodesic distance. I just selected the very, very top of this and I'm right clicking dragging to kind of grow it down. So I'm just doing that in successive ways until it kind of, you know, selects the whole thing. And you see I kind of selected something up there. I can do Control click to remove it. I'm going to press the I key to invert and then the delete key to delete. So there we go. It's kind of you know, kind of set right there. So still non-manifold, but I can fix that by going to Edit, to Plane Cut, and you know, kind of seeing. You sometimes have to exit out and say, I kind of want to plan the cut right around this bottom right here. So I'm going to go to Plane Cut, going to drag right around the bottom here. I'm going to look underneath to kind of see what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, I'm going to say accept. And you see also that it's remaining hollow right here when you click accept because I didn't cut all the way through. So Mesh Mixer is not going to create a boundary right there because that wouldn't work. If I go to Plane Cut again and I make a cut right here, you can see that now the green is filled in because I'm just missing this little edge here, and I can click, say accept. So that's pretty good. You know, I've cut off a little bit of the roundedness of the bottom, but you know, it's good enough for what I'm doing right now to show you all. So let's try to actually go into units and dimensions right now and see if I can left drag on this and try to set it. Yeah, so this is, so it actually looks as if it is properly sized right now. Oh, okay. No, actually, I figured out what was going wrong. So this up here, the dimensions, we're showing the overall dimensions of the entire scan, right? I don't know really what I was thinking. It was showing a high number of things because it went out here, but it actually changed to the proper size. So now, because, and this is actually important enough to actually show you again, because this is brand new with Mesh Mixer 3.0. And let me import this just to very show you. Yeah, so that was the mistake I made. So I went in here to analysis to units. I changed this to inches. I could even convert it, right? 1882 inches, that really doesn't do it. So what I want to do, what I didn't really show you before was I'm just going to hold down Control on my PC or Command on the Mac, and then click and drag and set this right here to be 3.5 inches. And so that's actually fine. It's now resized. These XYZ dimensions are for the entire scene, right? All of this floor space. But I just, you know, set it based on this here. So that's kind of what I forgot about before. So this is now properly sized for making a bracket. So the easy way that we would see is I can press W. I have a good amount of geometry here, so this will actually work. Press W again. I'm going to go into, and actually I'm going to go here to shaders and just drag this shader in to get rid of the texture because we don't need that right now. So the very, very easy way of doing this is to click on select, make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to paint my bracket. I know that this side is going to be facing outwards because that's where the battery goes. So maybe I'm going to do something, make it kind of a cute little bracket, right, to hold it in the front. I'm going to paint on where it goes in the back. And I don't want it to block all of these vents in the back. So I can have it come up, and then, you know, if I wanted to, I could have it come out a little bit like this. So it looks kind of nice. And then remember, if we want to make the edges nice, we can press B for smooth boundary and say accept. Now, if we say clear selection, we will see that we have a face group set. So this is just a region on here that we can manipulate. If we click on select again and double click on this face group, it selects it. And we can go here to Y to separate. So what that did is it created a separate object. We have two objects down here. One is the base and one is the selection. I'm going to open this up a little bit, turn off the eye on the base because we don't really need the base right now. And here is our mount, right? It will kind of turn the corner right here. I don't know if I really want that. So I can go in and kind of, you know, edit this down a little bit. Delete that. And again, I can double click on this blue line and press B to smooth the boundary again if I wanted to, you know, and press, you know, different deletes to do whatever I need to do. But we have this, and we can actually just say select Control A, right, or Command A to select the entire thing, and then go to extrude. Or actually, we can say constant or off of the normals. We would maybe want to do it to normals. Extrude sometimes works or sometimes gives you some crunchiness, or you can also go to offset. And offset kind of creates two planes unless you click connected, and then offset connected. And you could see that, you know, offsetting in a negative way goes inwards, and we don't want that because now we're going into the model. So actually I do want to do a negative. So negative, let's say, oh, I'm in inches right now, you know, 0.1 inches. And it kind of goes out like that. And you click accept. Now we have some crunchiness here, right? So some issues with the mesh, and you can do other things to clean this up, like do the edit to make solid. That'll a lot of times go out and smooth things, make this accurate. Let's see how it does here. Yeah, a little bit more accurate. You can say accept, right? So it's at least everything is manifold now. You know, if you have some areas that you want to do some smoothing in, you can, you know, select those, go to deform to smooth and smooth them out, right? But generally we have right now a base, and we can cut holes through these or do things like mesh mix in a cylinder, right? And if the cylinder is of a specific size for your holes and for your screws, you can do that, and then kind of Boolean them out, right? So this and this Boolean difference, all right? So screw holes that go in. So that is one way to do it. If anybody has any questions, I would be you know, happy to kind of show you that. But that is one way of creating a mesh bracket using Mesh Mixer. This is pretty much guaranteed to fit, and you would just screw one part into your wall, and, you know, assuming this was you know, strong enough to hold it, you could you know, support that charger on there. The other way to do this is kind of go back here, let you see me for a second. The other way to do that is the one that I show in the video, and it is really, really powerful. You know, as I said, I'm going to create a Fusion 360 class, but what I go over in the video online is a really powerful thing, and pretty much no piece of software does what I'm going to show you except for Fusion 360. This is kind of a reverse engineering workflow where if you start with a scan, you can create really things that you could put into production worldwide, you know, with a CAD program. So let me, in the background, start up Fusion 360 here. And this is actually not that hard to do. It requires 3 different pieces of software: Mesh Mixer, something called Instant Meshes, and Fusion. So I will show you what that looks like pretty quickly. Go back here. Cancel that. So I'm going to just go back and replace. I'm going to bring in the charging base again. And I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit more quickly. So I'm going to plane cut, you know, kind of what I think the base should be, like this. Plane cut it a little bit more like that. Say accept. And you see this quite a lot. This is, you know, not connected to this. So I can just select a little bit on here and say modify, expand to connected, and then delete. And this is a base. So what the trick here is to export this as base, but in OBJ format. So I'm going to say base OBJ. So there we go. It is exported. And I'm going to start up a program that I also linked to in that video called Instant Meshes. And we say open mesh. It's actually pretty simple. Open mesh. Bring in the OBJ. You can see it right here. I want quads. Total vertex count. Let's make it a little bit more complex, you know, somewhere 2,000. You just say yes. Click solve. Click solve. Click export mesh. I'm going to say pure quad mesh and extract. There we go. There's the mesh, and then save. And I'm going to say base in quads.obj. The reason that why we do this is because Fusion wants quads, right? So here we are in Fusion, and you know, you can go over this in the replay. I'll go over it a little bit quickly, but not hopefully not to lose you. But here's the workflow for Fusion. So we say create base feature. So now when we go to insert, we can say insert mesh. Otherwise, you don't get insert mesh. This is only in base feature. So we're going to say base in quads. And unit type was, this one was in millimeter. Actually, I need to go back because I didn't size this correctly. So I need to go back in here and say units dimensions, switch it all to inches, and units dimensions. And now I'm going to do this control click from here to here was 3.5 and say done. Now units dimensions in inches. I'm going to go back to millimeters and convert it, just because, you know, things work better inside of millimeters. And then export this again. Export as a base. Replace, and then go back into Instant Meshes and do this again. So let me just go do this quickly. Open mesh, base, quads, you know, 2,000, yes. Solve, solve, export, save. Okay, so now it'll work because it wasn't in the correct thing. So anyway, we went to create base feature. Now insert mesh. Base in quads. You can see right here, modeled in millimeters. And click accept. And here is your object in here. So great. Now we need to say finish base feature. So we're back in parametric modeling. But this is not an actual parametric model yet. Now here's the kind of trick that is hidden. You need to turn off design history down here in the lower right. Do not capture design history. So you're now in direct modeling. Now there's an option that says convert. So we're going to say convert. What entity? I'm going to go over here and click on mesh body. The entity is right here, base in quads. and say okay. And this will take actually, probably, well, it depends on your computer, but a few seconds to a few minutes to do. For my computer's pretty fast. So what it does is now gives you a parametric model. We still have our base right here, but I could even just delete this because I don't need that anymore. And now I can actually, and you can see that this is a parametric model. It's nice and all different types of quads. I can go back to unsaved right here and say capture design history. And then Fusion will think about it. It will turn all of these squares into regions, which are just kind of visual representations. And now they're regions. But we can still do things like edit the form. We can do things and edit this however we want. So we can push and pull it. We can do all sorts of things with these different shapes inside of this as if they are a sculptable body. It's actually a kind of a very cool workflow. So now this is editable. We can go in and change this if we want, just like any other mesh body out there. So physical materials, properties. It is a full piece of kind of editable geometry. So you can see in here. So different things, and then you can go in and edit the parametricness of this later. You can say down here, edit form, and oops, this was the second form that I created by mistake. Edit this form, and now we can go in and select one of these and say edit form, and push and pull it, right, as we want. But so the actual workflow for this is, undo that and delete this guy so it's not concerning us. But we can actually go in and create under here is the sculpt and say create a face. So mode is simple, and we're just going to say object snap right here. And we can even create an offset. I'm going to create an offset of 3 millimeters. So now this little dot is 3 millimeters off of this base. So I can go in and click, 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 and I've created a face that is 3 millimeters off from this body. I'm going to go into edge mode right here. Again, 3 millimeters. Click on this edge and kind of turn the corner right here like this. And now we're starting to turn the corner. I'm going to click on this edge again and go here. Oops, properly. Snap. There and there. Edge. There. And there. And then I'll just do this a couple more times. Then I'll show you what we have. This edge. There and there and up there and up there. I mean, this was just very rough. But now when we say finish form and we turn off this body, we have a full parametric face that we can use to then thicken if we want. We can say, actually go back into this. Oops. Modify, thicken this body by 1 millimeter and finish form, right? So now this is a solid body right here that we could 3D print. We could do all sorts of different things to. It is a full CAD model. And if we go back to the body here, you can see that it pretty much fits. We can tweak this a little bit to work, but that's kind of the workflow for that. Go back here. So let's see if anybody had any questions while I was. So Bill had a question about this. Will Fusion include the try to quad conversion in the future? It does do that now. It's a different type of step. So let me say don't save. Oh, actually, you can't see this. Let me. Okay, so it can kind of do that now, but it's a lot harder, a lot more constraints. So let's say import bunny. So this is the default Mesh Mixer bunny, not manifold. So let me go to inspector and repair it. So if you look down here, maybe you can see it, maybe not, but there's 13,000 triangles in this. Mesh Mixer, sorry, Fusion will convert, but only at 10,000 faces or less. So you would need to go in and go into select, Control A, and then do reduce right here. So edit to reduce, and you would say triangle budget. You know, say, you know, that's what it looks like at 1,000. That's not really bunny-like. Let's make it 6,000. Yeah, a little bit better, and say accept. So now we say file, export, bunny 6,000 try to desktop. We can go back into Fusion. So now in Fusion, you can say create base feature, insert mesh, bunny 6,000 try in millimeters, and your bunny comes in, but it's in triangles, right? So you can go in and there's two different groups here, but you can right click and say mesh to brep and say, okay, this actually takes a lot longer because it's turning all of these into breps. And now we can even delete both of the original bunnies. So now, oh, I guess I didn't make this manifold to start off with, but now this is a brep. You can, I guess the question was converting this. That would be difficult to do, but you can bring this in and now finish base feature, do different object snapping to this, or you know, if you created a you know, an object like this, and then moved it, move it down inside. Well, actually, this isn't going to work because the bunny isn't manifold, but you would be able to do some cutting techniques with this, Booleans and all of that. You would need to make the bunny solid first, which you would need to go into the patch workspace, create a patch, thinks about it, and then stitch the patch, right? But it would take a while to do. So there to there. Now the bunny, after this is done, will become a solid like this. And now you can do different Booleans, right? So in the model workspace, you can do a combine and say target body is the bunny, tool body is the square, and we want to cut. Right? So you can do that, but this bunny isn't really editable. You can do things with individual faces in here. You know, you can press and pull them. You know, even my computer kind of bogs down at that. You know, can't be repaired. You know, you might have to go into direct modeling, things like that. So the conversion, let's see, it press pulled it kind of no idea what it did right there. But so you can do a bit with this, but it's nicer also to sometimes turn it into quads using that instant meshes. So I'll go back. Go back there. But with also that said, Fusion, the Fusion team that I talked to and I know are working on a mesh workspace for Fusion. So all of the mesh, much of the Mesh Mixer things are going to be coming into Fusion. Probably not the 3D printing things about creating support structures, but you know, probably the other things about, you know, manipulating the mesh. But again, I don't know when that is that's going to happen. So hopefully that answered one of the survey questions about a little bit of one of the workflows for modeling. I want to again say that if you are doing modeling for 3D printing specifically, one of your best, oh, you can't see it. Let me go here. There we go. If you are doing modeling for 3D printing, let me just get rid of Fusion, then one of your best friends here is to go into analysis, into overhangs. So, if for 3D printing means, if you're printing at home, these would create overhangs. So if you see that these are the support structures that Meshmixer creates, but this angle setting right here is what you would want to play with. So you would go to Analysis to Overhangs and turn this up, right? So you see where the red is growing. Everywhere there is red, it says that, based on where the bunny is, would require supports. And if you, click Done, it goes away. But this shader right here, if you click on this shader with the little red bottom and drag it onto your bunny, you get the red back. And if you do something like transform and you move the bunny, you're actually seeing where new support structures would be created. So one of the benefits to this is, so we see we need some support structures under the ears right there. We can go in with this shader active and click on Sculpt and maybe Sculpt and Draw. Make my brush a little bit bigger and strength a little bit less. And I can start kind of sculpting some more in here. And as you see me put volume underneath the ear, you can see the need for support structures. I'm going a little bit closer. You can see the need for support structures start to go away, right? Or just barely appear, right? We would need to create a lot of volume to have the ears not need anything, but we can do that. I'll do a little bit stronger. We can do that. We can go in and start kind of sculpting this down. And you can see it's kind of dynamically updating where the support structures are needed. But as I create more volume underneath here, the need is going away. And because these are kind of, very, very kind of going in and out of existence, it means it's only very marginally needing support structures. It doesn't look much like a bunny anymore, but you can use this really, really effectively. Like this chin right here, you can do a little bit of sculpting, maybe to make it a little bit less of a curve down, and then it doesn't violate, it doesn't need support structures as much, right? Something like this, even though the angle is there, probably a 3D printer would be able to print that without support structures. Something like the ear, no way, right? It would need supports, but something like this is gradual enough that the cooling of your material would probably be able to take care of that just fine. So that's a really, really useful thing to just analyze. You can make some very subtle changes to your model to kind of mitigate needing as much support structure. Like right here, you just go boom, and you don't need as much, right? You still might need a little bit underneath this, but you're mitigating it, a good amount. So that's a really, really good tip that I use sometimes if I don't really care about the shape of my model. Come back here. So we're just right at the top of the hour. Okay, we get a question from Chad. Why can't I paint on my texture? Paint only shows up on my white shader. That is easily shown. It's actually easier shown than talked about. So very true. Let's just go on to the white shader right here. We go into Paint Vertex, and we drag around here. This can be a little finicky sometimes, but right. So we click on this. We have great. Okay, I'm going to click and paint, and nothing happens. You have to hold down the space key. And you have two different view modes. This is kind of the Meshmixer view mode, and this right here is the Paint Vertex color mode. So you click on this, and then suddenly the red is here, right? And different colors. You can go on here under surface painting. There's also something that says Smooth Color, which helps you smooth out the color transitions to make them a little bit more nicer. But that is only viewable in this view mode. You can go here, or you can go up to File, to Preferences, and the Mesh Color mode. Group color is the default, but Vertex Color lets you see all the vertexes. So there's two different ways of seeing color with that. And you can go, Paint Vertex is also in this. I think that this is not really a bug, but also make sure that when you're painting, you don't have refinement turned on, because you actually could have refinement turned on and be like changing your mesh while you're painting. I don't like that. So just make sure that refinement is turned off. that's just I think it should automatically be disabled, but they allow you to do that. And again, Paint Vertex really works better if your mesh is very, very dense. So it just paints the corners, right? So I'll just go in here very, very quickly and remesh this. I can just do linear subdivision, make it super dense, except do this a couple times, except. So now that's really dense. So our painting tools are a little bit more effective now. You can see that these are very, very blocky out here and very, very fine right here. So, you know, painting on a dense mesh is, you know, a lot more. And Bill said, thank you for another great session. You're very, very welcome. So hopefully, Chad, that helps you with your painting question. You know, it can be kind of little, you know, tricky to go back and forth between these view modes if you don't know about them. But you know, that is what it is. And sometimes it's helpful to paint to change the background color, which is up here. So you click on that, and you can make the background color maybe a little bit darker, like that, to see your paint colors a little bit better. So that is another way of doing that. So you know, we invite you to and let me actually go back so you can see me. To ask me questions, you know, even between the next sessions, we really want to make sure you help. And if you're not a you know, a member of the you're welcome, Justice. If you're not a member of all of the classes, be sure to do that All Access Pass. Again, we're going to be putting up hours worth of new content on Fusion 360. But if there's other classes that you would want us to do and create, we're more than happy to create anything that'll be of use. We're going to be growing our library over time, and we'd much rather create things that you want rather than, you know, things that you know, only we devise. So thank you so much again, and we look forward to seeing you 3D print and being creative. So thanks so much. Have a nice day. Bye.